Welcome back. Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari was recently at a centre of a political storm after turning decades-old policy over disputed Kashmir on its head. He reportedly called the fighters in the territory terrorists. However, his spokesperson later clarified that remark, and it was about non-Kashmiri militants fighting in Kashmir. Zardari also said that India has never been a threat to Pakistan, and while this declaration was strongly denounced in Pakistan and Kashmir itself, it was welcomed in Delhi, and both the Congress and BJP said it was a positive development towards improvement of relations between both countries. Well, I'm still joined by my guests in Islamabad, Raja Assad Hameed, in Delhi, Prem Shankar Jha, and in Birmingham, Victoria Schofield. Raja Assad Hameed in Islamabad, can I come to you first? I mean, successive Indian governments have ruled out a referendum on Kashmir. Now that we have a democratically elected government in Pakistan, what's their policy on engaging Delhi and those political leaders in Kashmir about the future of that state?
Well, as you've rightly mentioned, we have been witnessing some of the flip-flops by Asif Ali Zardari on Kashmir issue, but that does not marginalize the commitment of the Pakistani nation and the way their heart goes out for the Kashmiri brethren who are fighting for their freedom from the Indian occupation from last so many decades. Pakistan and the Pakistani nation considers Kashmir as its lifeline, and Pakistan's whole of the nation is standing behind the Kashmiris in their fight for freedom against the Indian occupation and Indian atrocities. And at the same time, I think that if Islamabad officially distances itself from the commitment that it was previously providing to Kashmiri freedom movement politically and morally, the Pakistani nation is least affected by that, and Pakistan's commitment on the basis of religion, on the basis of the rightness and fairness of the freedom struggle for the Kashmiris is absolutely intact.
Prem Shankar Jha, if the truth be known, Pakistan's not going to give up its right to Kashmir. India's not going to give it away. Kashmir is not going to get, some would say, complete independence. It seems a complete no-win situation. Is there a way out?
I beg to differ entirely with you, as well as from the gentleman, Mr. Hameed from Pakistan. I frankly don't know who Mr. Hameed is talking for. He talks about Pakistan as if he is himself Pakistan. But there are surveys which show that 72% of Pakistanis would like better relations with India, even if there is no change in Kashmir. This, incidentally, was a British survey done with over 20,000 respondents about 3 years ago. So I do not frankly know. The second thing is, he seems to have completely forgotten that there was an agreement between Musharraf and Manmohan Singh, and all that Zardari has done basically for the PPP is to endorse the basic principles of that agreement. That is all, which is that we need peace, India and Pakistan, both with each other. We cannot have it unless we settle the issue of Kashmir. But Kashmir must be settled in a way that is acceptable to the Kashmiri people. I fully endorse that position, and I do not endorse any other position. And the position that Mr. Hameed is talking about is Kashmir must either join Pakistan or join India. But the Kashmiris don't want to do either. So I'd much rather listen to the Kashmiris and show some respect for them.
Victoria Schofield, obviously you've looked into this issue quite in-depthly for many, many years. And I suppose the question I want to ask is, if you're in India and you live in Kerala in the south or in Maharashtra in the west, do Indians care enough about the future of Kashmir to warrant due concern when it comes to a general election if political parties are going to use Kashmir as part of the manifesto in terms of its future?
Well, to be honest, I think the days have gone when we're talking about Kashmir as an election issue. As we rightly know, the situation has changed. It's changed remarkably even since the insurgency began, and certainly since 1947 when the dispute really first arose. And I think it's true to say that nobody seriously believes that Kashmir, we're talking about the state of Jammu and Kashmir as it existed in 1947, is either going to be reabsorbed by India or indeed be absorbed by Pakistan. And what we're really looking for is a solution whereby the people of Kashmir, the inhabitants of all the different regions, and they do have different aspirations, they do have different religions, feel comfortable And this is why the initiatives that have taken place recently in terms of opening borders, improving the quality of life, are very important, because for decades, really, the Kashmir issue was used as a sort of kicking ball between Islamabad and Delhi without due concern for what the people actually wanted, and it was used as a political issue. I think those days have gone, and if anything has really happened that we can be glad about, is that both Islamabad and Delhi are realizing they can't sort of resolve the issue over the heads of the Kashmiri people. And this is why this aspect of good governance is so very important, because ultimately the Kashmiris, like anybody within India or Pakistan, want to lead their lives without the fear of the gun and also without a heavy military presence. They want good governance, and they want to be able to lead their lives in dignity. This is what so many Kashmiris have said to me.
But as this situation has progressed for, what, nearly 60 years now, Prem Shankar Jha, I mean, what message does Kashmiri separatism send out to other groups in India? For example, if we just sidetrack slightly, we have a Maoist insurgency in Assam. Are they sort of looking at Kashmir as an example, or what's happened in the past as an example, and thinking, well, maybe we can do something in Assam?
No, I think that there are three distinct things going on here. There is Assam, which is partly ethnic, but partly also a case of economic misgovernment of the kind that Victoria is talking about. There is the Maoist thing, which is right across a kind of a tribal belt across central India, which is all to do with exploitation and denial of traditional rights over land, and the expropriation of the tribals from the only thing that they have, which is their access to nature. And that is a classic, that's a classic sort of a conflict with elements of class war in it. And then you have Kashmir, which has all kinds of things mixed into it, with some religion, a great deal of history and ethnicity, and of course then the complicating factor that it's been the apple that that Pakistan has been trying to seize from the hands of India for the last 60 years.
Also, if I could just bring in...
They're quite separate.
Yeah, if I just bring Victoria Schofield in here. I mean, we are leading up to possibly general elections in 2009. How important on the whole are these, not just the Kashmir elections, but the 6 districts, the 6 areas, states that are going to elections, and Delhi, important in terms of determining who might take power or who might gain from successful elections or not successful elections in 2009?
Well, I think what's always important with these elections, and particularly, say, in relation to Kashmir, is that the government in New Delhi doesn't adopt the practices of previous governments, and it allows Kashmir essentially to run its own show. And we've often seen that where there's been too much control from Delhi, then you have a straining at the sort of seams of Kashmiri politics. It's a very interesting example what happened over the summer. It couldn't have been more obvious of a lesson. The grant of the land, the suggested grant of land around the Hindu shrine, and we saw what an outpouring of protest that decision taken by the government in New Delhi had in Kashmir. And so, I mean, India, like many big countries, and indeed we even see the same situation in Pakistan, where it acts more in terms of a federation and lets the individual governments at district level, so to speak, run their own show, then you have less of a problem. And I think if you're going to have a successful general election, it has to be that there's not going to be heavy-handedness from the center trying to oblige people into positions they don't want to adopt.
Raja Assad Hameed, very quickly, a final thought. As you view these elections in India over the next 6 weeks, how do you think the Pakistani government will view them if they do turn out to be successful, peaceful and with a very high turnout?
Sohail, please allow me to make a correction here.
Very quickly, we have 20 seconds.
I'm not in habit of indulging into any kind of argument, but I really do seriously mind what the friend on the other side has said about me and my views. We cannot marginalize the genuine freedom struggle of Kashmiris, the hundreds and thousands of martyrs, and the genuineness of their right. Any agreement between a Tom, Dick or Harry does not marginalize their right being accepted by the United Nations resolutions. The Kashmiris have an absolute a right to decide their own future. As far as Islamabad is concerned, it is of course indulged into so many of the issues. The government is, as you are keeping an eye on Islamabad's political skyrocketing changes here, it is of course looking in to so many of the issues, but at the same time it has to keep in mind the importance of the Kashmir issue and the deep attachment of Pakistani nation with the Kashmiris.
There I have to interrupt you, Raja Assad Hameed. I'm sorry, we have run out of time. I'd like to thank you in Islamabad, Prem Shankar Jha in Delhi and Victoria Schofield in Birmingham for joining us on this edition of Inside Story. We do welcome your comments and suggestions. Please do email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. I'm Sohail Rahman. You're watching Al Jazeera. Thank you very much for joining us.